Hey there, welcome back to Jimothy Listens. My name is Jimothy, and here is the albums that I've listened to this week. Kind of similar to last week, actually kind of the exact opposite of last week. Instead of like last week where it was, oh, I didn't listen to anything new, but I listened to a whole bunch of old stuff. This week it's, I didn't listen to a lot of stuff, but it's all new and it's all really, really good. Like I only have 4 things to talk to you about today, but they're all phenomenal. They're all incredible. And so we're just gonna get into it because the fact that there's less means I can talk about each of them for a little bit longer, which I really want to do because they're all really good. So let's just get started. Cara Cara Benito's lead singer, Sarah Benito, aka Sarah Perry, has branched out into this new solo project, Cryalot, and this is the debut EP. It's called Icarus, and oh, it's good. It's so good. It's Sarah's gorgeous voice and her amazing storytelling skills over some incredibly textural, rich production. There's a lot of just like gorgeous synths that are very like thick and heavy and carry a lot of weight and punch to them, but don't feel overbearing. It's quite stripped back and reserved. It goes for a less is more kind of approach a lot of the time, and you know, this is all great. The sound is phenomenal, but what really makes this EP so stand out is the story being told across the 5 tracks. The EP is called Icarus, and that's because Sarah uses the story of Icarus as a metaphor for, you know, wanting more, being passionate about like chasing things, wanting things. She kind of ties herself into Icarus and tells the story across the 5 songs. The first song, Touch the Sun, is very hopeful and passionate. It's, you know, I have these goals that I want to reach. I have all of these bright ideas and like I'm going to do everything I want to do. The next song, Hurt Me, is kind of a similar feeling. It's saying, you can't hurt me. I have angels on my side. I have everything rooting for me. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And then suddenly, as we all know, it didn't really work out that well for Icarus. We get to the song Hell Is Here, which is by far the darkest sounding song on the EP. It's intense and there's just grinding bass and even some like kind of metalish screams in a few sections. It's very suddenly just dark and overbearing as it tells the story of, I guess, like, you know, being dragged down and also kind of having these demons or like angels pulling you back, but having that be from your own mind. It's kind of in the story, it's, you know, like, oh, angels and like monsters, but it's kind of being used as a metaphor for like, you know, the demons in here holding you back from what you want, which is very like, ooh. Yep. And then the song Labyrinth is just gorgeous. It uses these really simple kind of like piano notes to make it sound very gentle and melancholy. And the story of this song is just Sarah, you know, being stuck in monotony and being stuck in the same thing every day and stuck in this tiny confined space and just wishing for more. And I really love the chorus, which just repeats the line, why do we dream if we only believe in this? And that just, like, that hit me. That line hit me and I was like, ooh, okay, I'm gonna have to unpack that one a little bit. And that's not like, that song basically reduced me to tears. And if that one didn't do it, then the final song, See You Again, absolutely did. See You Again is a very sort of calm and fitting track that just sees Sarah, instead of telling a story sort of about herself, it sounds like she's telling a story in third person. It feels like she's like passing down a folk tale. She's telling the story of a brave, courageous hero who saved us and then after their time was done had to shuffle away. And these verses are interspersed with little spoken moments from Sarah in Japanese, which I read the translations for. And to me, it seems like that's almost from the perspective of the hero and saying like, I've done what I need to do. My time is up. bid the angels farewell and then walk across the sea to the other side. And then the song ends with Sarah just repeating the lyrics, goodbye till we see you again. And here, instead of the thick electronic synths, that instead fades out in favor of these gorgeous strings and an acoustic guitar, which just sends it off in a very sort of sad, sullen note. And it's incredibly gorgeous and incredibly beautiful. And the fact that this EP is only 5 songs and made me feel so much and also sounds so incredible, it can't be anything less than like a 9 out of 10. It's amazing.
This keyboard tape we dedicate to all those lonely people out there.
Okay, I talked way too long about the last one. Let me try and be a bit shorter on this one. Kenny Beats, the acclaimed hip-hop producer. If you don't know who he is, he's actually probably produced about 10,000 of your favorite songs, and he has just dropped his sort of solo debut album, Louie. Now, being an album from a producer, obviously this is mostly an instrumental album, and Kenny's an incredible producer. I was under no doubts that the instrumentals on this were going to be gorgeous, and they absolutely are. But there's some really nice elements that make it a lot more than just, oh, here's a collection of nice beats. Firstly, there's the sort of wide swath of collaborators that come on. There's guest vocals from a whole range of people, including like JPEG Mafia, Slow Tie, Remy Wolf, and a bunch of others that I can't think of at the moment, that all provide really nice little guest moments. But what I love is that they never steal the spotlight. They feel almost more like sort of samples being weaved into the beat rather than the focus. The focus stays very much on Kenny's production, which is really nice. And then there's also a bunch of guest collaborators on the musical side from people like Thundercat and Mac DeMarco. And then, as if that wasn't enough, there's the sort of general context and themes of the album. From what I read, this album wasn't originally made for sort of like public consumption. Kenny originally made it as a present for his dad when he got sick. And so there's a lot of little like snippets of audio of like recordings of both Kenny and his dad sort of talking about different things. There's a lot of other snippets brought in talking about family and love, and the entire album just sort of really runs with these themes of like family relationships and like caring for loved ones. And it really turns, you know, just like, oh, a collection of nice beats into an album that really, it just feels like a warm hug from a loved one. It's really nice to listen to. It's like an 8 out of 10. Finally, I have gotten around to listening to this new Billlie album, The Billage of Perception Chapter 2. I have filmed a reaction to this, which should be up. I'll link it in the description and also put the little card up on into that side, isn't it? Boom. But yeah, I really, really like this album. It's probably like top 5 K-pop albums of the year, I would say. While the title track, Ring My Bell, is maybe my least favorite Billlie title track, I still think it's fun, it goes hard, it rocks. But really where this album shines is the B-sides. Billlie just runs with the kind of groovy, delicious textural synth production of their last album and just builds on it. This album is delicious, it is rich, it is texture filled, it is absolutely incredible. The B-sides are groovy and thick and lush, and I need to give a special shout out to the track MacGuffins, because that's a hell of a song. That is a hell of a song. That is one of the wildest K-pop songs I think I have ever heard, and I absolutely adore it. It is kind of a shame that the album ends on a bit more of a boring ballad, but with how good the rest of the album is, I can easily overlook that and give this like a 8 to 9 out of 10. And the final album I have to talk about this week is the debut album from Jockstrap, I Love You Jennifer B. Jockstrap are a British duo made up of producer Taylor Skye and singer Georgia Ellery, who also happens to be a member of Black Country New Road, fun fact. I fell in love with their work with their 2020 EP Wicked City, which is just one of my favorite musical releases ever. Like, it's not an album, but if it was, it would be one of my favorite albums ever made. Like, literally like top 3 material. It's mind-blowingly good, and so I have been eagerly awaiting this debut album. And while my expectations were probably too insanely ridiculously high, so it didn't quite meet those, but the fact that it was not far off means that this is an absolutely phenomenal album. I really like the kind of acoustic or orchestral elements weaved into a lot of the songs. There's a lot of songs that are backed with like guitars or like strings, violins, and like harps and stuff. It's really cool. For example, the track Angst is backed by just sort of a simple harp, but the way that Tyler has like glitched it and quirked it and chopped it, just it turns it into something completely magical and amazing and something that I've never heard before. And it's the kind of perfect bass for George's incredibly light, airy voice to sing over the top. And then not only does it sound amazing, but Georgia also sings some very kind of artistic and poetic lyrics comparing anxiety to like a newborn child that she's being burdened to kind of care for, and it gets very, I don't know, it's a bit kind of messed up and a bit icky in a very gorgeous and sweet way. It's amazing, and that's just one of the incredible songs on this album. Like, not only are there the sort of very nice, beautiful, like acoustic moments, there's also just some insane electronic tracks as well. The single Concrete Over Water kind of bridges the gap. That's a pun that you would get if you have heard the song, but kind of bridges the gap between the very pretty artistic stuff and the incredibly like electronic banger side of stuff. It meshes them together amazingly. But then even on the far end of the, you know, electronic bangers, you've got Greatest Hits, which sounds like a disco where people snort powdered sugar instead of cocaine. 50-50 feels like a club where people are snorting the salt left on other people's bodies after their sweat evaporates instead of cocaine. But the nastiest vibes of them all absolutely go to the song Deborah, which just has maybe the most feral vibes in a song I have ever heard, and it does it in the brightest kind of cutesy bubblegum party pop, but in like a cyber dystopia kind of way. Like, it feels like being dressed head to toe in pink fuzzy pom-poms and smashing store windows to grab as much loot as you can, and then pulling out your like rhinestone flip phone with little charms hanging off of it to call your delivery driver, and they pull up in like a hot pink Mustang with hot pink like Mattel branded guns for you to shoot at the cops after they chase you off. Like, it's mental, and I absolutely love it. And yeah, this whole album is incredible. No one makes music like Jockstrap. No one could ever possibly make music like Jockstrap. And more than that, it feels like it's made specifically for me. It feels like it has been made for me personally, and I absolutely adore it. This album, like on first listen, it's an 8 to 9 out of 10, but I definitely see it going higher the more I listen to it. And that is it for this week. Like I said, not as many things to talk about, but within those things to talk about, a lot to talk about, because these are 4 incredible releases that I would definitely recommend checking out all of them if you have the time. You will not regret listening to any of them. They're all really, really, really good. If you have heard any of these, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear it. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. I try to do this every week. If you want to see me react to albums as they happen, there's the Jimothy Listens Instagram, where I say that we do daily reviews. It's kind of not happening at the moment because I'm very busy. Like I said, crossover, check it out. But one day we'll get back to the daily reviews there. But otherwise, just subscribe here, and, you know, I talk about it every week anyway, so there's that. Yeah, that's it. Love you. Catch you next week. Mwah.